A very good evening, everyone. Welcome to NMBF Coffee Chats. This is basically a church-based channel, a Christian channel, but then we have lectures for everybody, not just for our community people, but also for the society at large. And today happens to be one such lecture where we're going to talk about, how to, find happiness, in your old age. And one of the things we do, just as our custom is that we begin with a word of prayer. So just what we do as Christians to honor God, and then we can begin. So we'll just say a short word of prayer. God, who made us all, creator of us all, we ask you for your blessings upon today's talk, and we pray for our dear speaker, Dr. Alka, that you will bless her and that we will truly have a wonderful, fruitful time as she speaks. We commit this time into your hands. In your name we pray. Amen. So, friends, I just wanted to tell you right in the beginning that this is basically a lecture for the society, for all the people from different walks of faith. So we are going to talk on that level. There's not going to be anything that we normally do. Sometimes we have lectures only for Christians. We talk about our beliefs, but this is not one of those lectures. This is just a very open program. So let us take what we can learn, which is good for us, and and be happy with that. Yeah. So it is a great joy to have Dr. Alka Ganesh once again with us. We have done 2 lectures before that on how to take care of your elderly and healthy aging, which were very well attended. Today we have another wonderful session on how to find happiness in old age, and truly this is a wonderful topic, and we are so glad that Dr. Alka Ganesh is with us. For those of us who are new, I would just like to say that Dr. Alka Ganesh has been the former HOD, Head of Department of Medicine at CMC Vellore, and also the former geriatric consultant at GKNMH Hospital, Coimbatore. So Dr. Alka Ganesh will be, other than that, a very wonderful person. Whoever gets to know her just knows how warm she is and loving and caring, and always wanting to give back to the society. Truly, it's wonderful to have people like her who inspire us to love and serve. And she'll be speaking for a length of time, and after that we can ask our questions or doubts that may be, and so we follow the same pattern of the lecture first, followed by interaction time. So a warm welcome to you, Dr. Alka Ganesh. We are so happy you're here, making time for all of us. And yes, please go ahead. The time is given to you.
Thank you so much, Abhijit. It's always a pleasure to talk to your group, and you are very kind in your comments and very patient. Actually, when I was listening to the music that you played before this, I thought we don't need to have this lecture because it was such a nice one. It said, don't worry. And I think that is the best medicine for, unhappiness, is not to worry. But again, it's better when we talk about something where we find difficult to find the answer. And I don't think that in this 40 minutes talk or less, that we are going to find the answer to happiness. But the more we talk about it, and the more we hear everybody's opinion on it, the closer we are to getting a little bit of that into our lives. So what is happiness? It's difficult to define, but I would say it's a state of mind. It's an emotion. It's something which makes life worth living. It's like eating your favorite dish. If it lacks salt, it's really not worth eating. You can eat it. It's not worth eating. So happiness is not an exotic spice. It's not an exotic ingredient. It's a very common thing like salt, which we must have. And even though it's so common, we don't know how much of it to put into our food. So let's talk about this. Happiness means different things to different people. It's not a case of one size fits all. If you announced in your family that we were all going for ice cream, the 6-year-old will be whooping with joy, running around, showing his happiness. The cynical adolescent may say, well, I've had it. What's so great about ice cream? But will come anyway. But if he gets 1,000 likes on his Twitter handle or on his Instagram, the adolescent will puff up his chest with happiness. And if you look at a young couple who is just starting the family, what is their happiness? It's getting a promotion, it's getting money, buying their new house, that shiny new car. These are the things which at that time hold so much promise for them and happiness. And we've all been through that. But at our age, at an older age, these are material things which no doubt do add spice to our life, but they are transitory. They are there for the moment. And once you've had them, they lose their significance. All our faiths tell us this. That the things that we long for from this world, when we get it, the happiness is there, but it is short-lived. So we want to really talk about something much deeper. Happiness as we age. So as we age, process itself imposes so much of burden on us, both physically and mentally, with diseases or even without diseases, that, and we have seen so much of the world that we are looking for something else to give us that happiness. So, in fact, there are people, even the United Nations has a body which is trying to gauge happiness. We don't know what happiness is, but we're trying to gauge it. It's like fever. How much fever do I have? Okay, we may not know what the cause of the fever is, but do I have 102 or 103? And so they want to know people across the world. So they've given it to different groups to find out. And there is, I think many of you would be aware, there's something known as a happiness index of populations. And sad to say, India is actually way down, almost at the bottom. And the countries in Northern Europe, Norway, Sweden, Finland, they're the happiest. And they've been the happiest for many years. And if you look at why they're happy, they look at things like good governance, enough money, fairness, lack of corruption. And we all know that's missing in our lives. So once you try to put some reasons for happiness, we can try to get them. Or if unhappiness, try to remove them. So this is an exercise, and let us see what are the various factors which give rise to happiness. So as I was preparing for this talk, I thought, let me ask some of my friends, because there isn't time to do a global survey and find out among older people. So I just asked a few of my friends casually, and they actually took this very seriously. I was very surprised. They took it very seriously. And one or two of them even wrote a full-length essay, which I would love to show to you, but there isn't time for that. So what they did was, what I read through those, and I interviewed some of them, and there was a constant stream that came across, which is not anything unusual, but this was very real to those people and to all of us. And they are faith, family, friends. One person added humor, and then many also added hobbies or things to do. So let's look at these one by one. And let's look at faith. Now, as Abhijit said, most of the congregation, the participants here are of the Christian faith following, but there are also many of other faiths. And time and again, it has been shown that those elders who are engaged in their faith are definitely more happy than those who are not. It's not that everybody who's not engaged in faith is unhappy, but a larger percentage. And they ascribe it to the inner peace that they get, which is very difficult to actually gauge. And they also feel it's because of religion brings people together in congregations. And so you feel that community feeling, which is a great source of removing loneliness and feeling happy and sharing one's joys and sorrows. So that is one thing. And so it seems a given that as you age, and many people are naturally drawn to religion, but those who aren't should make the effort to go and engage themselves in their faith. But we all know that there are those who are very religious, genuinely religious, and yet are unhappy. And we also know that there are many who are not engaged in religion and are still very happy. So there has to be something else. The next thing that people all talk about, and I'm sure it's true, is family. Having a family around you is actually one ingredient for removing, or one way to remove that huge problem that old people have, and that is of loneliness. But having said that, it also depends upon the family dynamics, the relationship within that family. One can be very lonely in a family where there is constant bickering, misunderstanding, where old problems, humiliations are carried forward to this day. So I think it behoves the older person, who is supposed to be wiser, to make that effort, no matter how hard it is. So all of us have to make that effort to, first of all, remove those bad feelings that we harbor against our family members for things that are done in the past, and make that effort to engage with the rest. The other thing is, even if you have a good relationship with the family, everybody is loving and caring, but the younger people have got their own things to do. I think that gap, that generation gap, has to be bridged. And who must bridge that gap? Because it is in the older person's interest to bridge that gap, we have to do something. And at the end, when people talk, I would like to hear from you what you think you can do to bridge that gap. But one thing I know, the generation divide is so great. We just think of the old days, even if we didn't have such nice air conditioning or technology or whatever, still the old days were good. Try telling that to younger people. Try telling that to a person that, we didn't have gas, we had kerosene. And they will look at us and say, oh my goodness, which world were you in? But all of us have experienced that. And still we say those were the good old days. No doubt they were the good old days. But I think what we have to do, many older people just can't engage with the modern world, with the modern technology. Many older people find the internet, the current way of money transaction, very, very difficult to do, or they're very, very suspicious of it. So I'm not suggesting that you go headlong into it and do something which you're not familiar with. All I'm saying is make the effort to find out what is it that engages your grandchild or your nephew into the things of this world which you are not familiar with, and learn about them. Do not distance yourself from the world, and make that connection with your family members, because finally it is a family who will be there with you at the end. And the next thing, of course, is friends. Now, many of us, we have friends from school, we have friends from college, and we do keep in touch. Now it's so much easier to keep in touch because of the technology. But do we nurture our friends? Friends are not just there just because you knew them or you went to class with them. You had the same teachers. You have to nurture it. And I just wonder, many of us take our friends for granted. At the same time, we find it's so much easier to be with your friends sometimes than your family. Because when you're with your family, you have to be that great mother, or you have to be that great grandmother, the wonderful person. Whereas when you're with your friends, you can just be a child. You can go back to your childhood and you can just behave as naturally and freely as you did when you were young. So nurture your friends. And that is a question that I want to talk about. And I want to hear from all of you. How do you nurture your friend? How do you make sure that your friend keeps calling you and doesn't, one phone call in 3 months? How do you make sure that you keep that connection? And recently, if I can just share my own experiences, because I retired completely 6 months ago, and I found I had oodles of time. What do I do with that time? And I said, why are we all living in our own houses? So all of us got together twice a week and we learned how to play bridge. Those who couldn't learn how to play bridge, we started playing Scrabble. And it was something quite unique to us because we were all working people and we had never had the time during the day to go and play this. And the times when we have done it, we have enjoyed it. And there's another thing that you can do is a meal, sharing a meal. That is, sometimes it becomes a big affair to have a meal. But if you have a potluck, each one brings their own and make it a regular affair. So we had something like a monthly Sunday special get together. Everyone made a dish, and it was not just the eating of it. We actually became children and played games. And you might ask, what kind of games did you play with 20 people? Well, we played dumb charades, we played Pictionary, and we suddenly realized that we have become 20-year-olds or 15-year-olds because we were fighting with each other and say, that point belongs to me. And how did you take this point away from you? Here we are grandmothers, but we found enjoyment in something as simple as this and just getting to know each other. So friends, what I want to say is today I see many, many friends getting together in groups, going for excursions, going for national, international trips, and they can just let their hair down. But of course, it means you have to be healthy, you have to have the finances. So when you have those things, make use of them. And you don't have to go international. You can go to a small little resort somewhere. So friends, nurture your friends, work hard at them and love them. Humor. I don't think we need to talk about humor because that's obvious. If you can see the funny side of things without making fun of a person, it just lightens the mood. I have a friend in our group, we have a friend, and when he's there, we are just literally holding our sides and laughing. But it doesn't mean that that's the main thing because it just lasts for that moment. But we love that person, we love that person's company because we know he will make us laugh. So humor is very important. Hobbies. Hobbies. You will say, oh, that's for young people. What's a hobby that I can do? So it all depends on your personality, on your talents, on your interests. But I would strongly advise that every person who hasn't already done so to take up a hobby. So what could it be? There are many people who are women, are very good at embroidery, very good at cooking. The problem comes with men. You see, they're so engaged in their work the whole time. They don't have time for hobbies. So what do you tell a man? So I'm looking forward to people like Abhijit and other men to say what kind of hobbies they would do if they had the time. Now, some Abhijit may be working, but something like gardening. My husband is a surgeon, but he suddenly become a gardener, and he cannot feel happy unless he has watered the garden. He buys grow bags from Amazon. He buys mud from Amazon, potting mixture. And we are now in the stage where we don't have to have curry leaves. We don't have to buy coriander, kotamali. And now we are going to have mint. Then we had spinach. So every time I make an omelette, all I have to do is cut some spinach and put it into the omelette. So that is a source of joy. And so, I'm just telling you a few things. I know some people who have learned a musical instrument. So why is it important, this hobby? Because it just engages you completely. You're looking for the moment you wake up in the morning, you're looking forward to, is there a new leaf in that plant? I know the leaves that were there yesterday, okay? Or pets. Now they say plants are the new pets. Not everybody can have a pet, but those who love pets and have pets, they engage them completely. So I strongly urge everyone to have a hobby. It book club is something interesting, but you have to work hard at a book club. It doesn't have to be anything so exotic. It can be something which is, to you personally, an absorbing thing to do. Having said all this, what we've discussed, family, friends, hobbies, they are all external things. Of course, your faith is an internal thing, but everything else is external. You have to have that happiness. Everybody says, the inner happiness, the true happiness. How do you get that? And this is where the faith comes in. People find that inner happiness in their faith. So many philosophers have also tried to interpret this question. And one person whom I have read about, not studied, I cannot say studied in great detail, but read about, is a Vietnamese Buddhist monk. His name is hard to pronounce. Many of you would know him. It's Thich Nhat Hanh. And he has proposed this thing of mindfulness and awareness. Many people may have heard of that. And at this point, may I just share the screen? So I'm just going to share the screen. Can I do that?
Yes, you can. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Oh dear. I don't think I've got the right one. Yes. So one person has said, the secret of happiness, this is not the philosopher. This is just a quote that I got from the net without any authorship. But I thought it was very interesting. The secret of happiness is not doing what one likes, which we were just talking about the hobby, but in liking what you do. So this is the other point that I would bring out, that hobbies are one thing, that's something you like, but something that you have to do, not necessarily a hobby, but can you just like doing it? Can anyone think about it, like washing dishes? Somebody told me this evening when I said I was going to talk about this, she said, you know what I like to do? I like to iron my clothes, because you start off with a big bundle, then you iron them and it becomes a neat little thing. So in liking what you do, even though it may be something as simple, not even a hobby. So I thought that was something nice to take. So this is what the Buddhist monk said: awareness, mindfulness, and meditation. Now, this is not very easy for any of us to do. Mindfulness is what I was just saying, that be in the moment. The things that you are seeing and doing every day, washing dishes or cooking or even dusting, can you be mindful of what you're doing and enjoying the moment? I think it's hard. But if you put your mind to it, you can. And then people have put so much stress on meditation. I don't do meditation, but I've heard so many people talk about it. And meditation doesn't have to be for hours. What it really means is that you have to empty your mind of everything, all thoughts, which is the most difficult thing that a human being can do. And whatever technique you use, if you can meditate, it somehow rejuvenates you. I always think about it. I don't know whether this will resonate with any of you when I say this. If there are any doctors, they might resonate with that. Is when a person is very depressed and none of the medicines has helped them, one of the things the psychiatrists do, it's a very gruesome thing that they do, is to give them electric shock, electroconvulsive therapy. It's come under a lot of criticism, but they give them anesthesia, so they don't actually move their limbs. But once that electric shock goes, everything comes out of their mind, and then it comes back again, and the depression goes. It's an effective form of treatment, which we don't use so much. So I think meditation is something like that. You remove everything that's cluttering up your mind, and then when you start back again and engage, maybe it's something like rebooting a computer. The computer is going all haywire, and then you say, what to do? You ask somebody and they say, put it off and start again. So maybe meditation is something like that. Put it off. When I get up in the morning, the thought comes to me, I'm thinking, what were all the things that happened yesterday? They're coming back into my mind. And oh yes, it's this, it's this. So it's like when you went to sleep, everything went out. And then one by one, all your thoughts flew in. And it gives you the meaning for the day to go forwards because you've got that renewed spirit. So mindfulness, awareness. The other thing they say is letting go. We've talked about it before. Let go of all the prejudices, all the unhappiness, all the hard feelings that you had about other people, because they don't make any difference to anybody. It just makes you feel bad. So let it go. And again, this is easy to say, but very hard to do. Very hard to do. And if you just think about it, I tell myself, I can remember so-and-so did this to me in class 3, but I think I may have done something to her in class 4. So let's forget about it. We are quits, okay? And it doesn't make any difference to that person. So it just makes you feel bad. So let go of all this awful baggage that we might have been carrying and make sure, find out, is there one person to whom you have decided you're never going to speak to them? Tomorrow, make the effort to talk to that person. They may not have come round to it. Doesn't matter. It will help them to come round to you. So let go of all these prejudices. The third thing is empathy. Empathy is trying to understand what another person is going through. You don't have to go through that emotion. You don't have to feel sad because that other person is feeling sad. But can you understand that the other person behaves like that or says those kind of things because they are sad, because they are angry, because they are disappointed and frustrated? If we can understand that, that's a great step forward, because then you will know it's not something bad they have in mind. They are distressed. So have empathy with that person. And that makes you feel better, makes you feel happier. Non-judgmental. We are all critics, not only of other people, but of ourselves. We criticize ourselves. I'm not good enough. Okay. That person never did the thing properly. My maid doesn't clean properly. Why can't she clean properly? So we are always judging. I'm not trying to say that we should not have standards. Let her do what she likes. I will just accept it. No. But let us not banish her, banish the person who has done those things down into hell, as though you were a big judge. No, just commiserate with them, tell them, work with them, work with yourself, not to judge yourself. And once we have that kind of a relationship, that kind of an easy relationship with people without judgments, it makes you feel lighter, makes you feel happier. So there is a agenda to all of this. It's also for yourself. And then the last thing I want to talk about is remove fear. Fear is the most awful thing. It can never make you happy. It only makes you sad. Fear, anxiety, particularly about death. And as we age, we must think about death. There are some people who don't like to say that word. I don't know whether I've said this before, but the Chinese, the word for death sounds very much like the English word for. So in fact, when I was living in Malaysia, no Chinese would have a number plate which had the word 4 on it, the number 4 on it. And so they told me this 4484, I still remember, is the number plate that you have to take if you want the car today. And I said, I'll take it. And they were most surprised. And they said, you don't mind all these 4s over there? So I said, no, I don't mind at all. So you see, because they couldn't use the word death. And in many of the hospitals, people will never tell you that the patient died. They will say the patient was declared. And when I first said, I said, declared what? Declared insane? They said, no. Declared, doctor, declared. So that word dead should not be said. So I said, oh, you mean he died? Doctor, don't say that, please, don't say that. But I think we should think about death. We should talk about death. But not in the way that we normally do. We should talk about it in a very positive way. As someone said, the day you were born, it was written that you're going to die. It was written. When is a mystery. So death is something we must talk about. We must hope for a good death. We must work towards, but we fear it and we should not fear it. So these are some of the things, I'm not saying they're all, that if we try to inculcate all these things in our lives, perhaps we will get the true happiness that we want. And this is Mark Twain. Fear of death follows from a fear of life. Fear of death follows if you've been fearful in your life of something, anything, a fear. I'm not saying ordinary fears, but a fear which pervaded you, which shaped your attitude towards things. And a man who lives fully, I think he meant women also, but they were not very gender specific those days. They were not. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time. I think those are very, very weighty words worth thinking about. And so I want to end by a poem, which is a long poem, but if you don't mind, Abhijit, if I may just take 2 minutes to read it.
Yeah, please go ahead.
It is the Desiderata. I'm sure many people may have heard of the Desiderata. It was a poem written by this person, Max Herman, in 1927 in America. And it says, go placidly amid the noise and haste. Remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly. Listen to others, even the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself to others, you may become vain or bitter, for there will always be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially, do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. Whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, whatever your labors and aspirations. In the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. So be cheerful, strive to be happy. So with that, I say, I look forward to what you will say.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Stop share.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Alka, for such a wonderful sharing, so beautifully expressed. And the poem, especially in the end. Yeah.
You can find it on the net. You can find it on the net. It's very famous.
Okay, great.
The Desiderata.
Right. So, friends, as I said earlier, this is a sharing on a level where everybody can understand and relate with. So anybody has any question about this whole subject or what you've heard today, and how to find happiness in old age? Anybody has any questions?
Or share their.
You could share your secret also, what you do that gives you happiness. Go ahead, please. Yeah. Somebody named Julius wanting to share? Okay. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah. One of the things that came to my mind is I feel that the elderly generation never really retires from a sense of responsibility that they feel they should have towards their family. Because even after retiring, they feel suddenly that they are not able to provide or they are not productive enough. And often they feel guilty in asking money or spending money on themselves. And even they feel guilty to disturb their children. And I think that is very sad. I feel, when are you going to enjoy your life? When are you going to say that I deserve this? Now I deserve that my children look after me, and I should not now worry about. I should spend money for myself. So, uh, any comment on that? Uh, Dr. Alka, did you hear me?
Yeah, I did, but I think somebody wants to speak, but they have not unmuted themselves.
Oh, okay.
Moto G.
All right.
She wants to speak. She's saying something. Can you get to her? Now she's.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah, correct.
No, but
we cannot. Her audio is not connected. Ma'am, your audio is not connected.
Yes.
Now we can hear you.
Can you say something?
Yes, I did want to say something.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Alka. Nice to see you. And what I wanted to say was, you said about retire. It's not retired. You are retired for something else. So this is how I look at it. For me, I've been fortunate so far, and I'm retired for
Very
something.
good. And may I know your name? Because I think I know you.
I'm Viji Venkatesan.
Oh, of course. Viji Venkatesan. Hello, Viji. Yeah, I knew who you are. So Viji Venkatesan was in CMC. She was in the principal's office, and we had much to do with her. Yes, such a vibrant person. And you are really only retired. Okay.
Yes, I'm retired.
Thank you, Viji, for that. Yes, and what you said, in case somebody is still thinking what to say, Abhijit, about now it's your turn to enjoy. I don't think the children should actually depend on you at all at that time, because you have helped them, you have given, of course, there may be some reasons why the child with their family cannot cope up. But yes, the money that you have, you don't have to pass it on completely. You can enjoy yourself. And I would absolutely agree with you that that has to be done.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other comment? I think in Kerala they have started some centers in the city itself where the older people, when their children leave for office, they come together. There are certain centers made where they spend the whole day playing or just hanging out together. And sometimes the older people are then made to put in charge of the children, or there are household things given to them. So I think what I feel is they need to also move out and have their time. So
yes, intergenerational things are there, where even some older people are given time to go to the schools and have a storytelling session for the lower classes. And that's very nice. And HelpAge India has done something called peer groups, where they get people of a certain age together, they facilitate it. And because they feel that that is something very nice to make people enjoy themselves.
And any other question, any other comment, any other secret you want to share, something that makes you happy? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, Pastor.
Yeah, Mrs. Kola, go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, ma'am. It was nice to have your session now. Pastor, I would like to share about my friend, my school friend.
Okay. Yes.
We are connected with me. And now actually she's working for LIC yet, but as her children have got married and all, they stay separately. She's from Bangalore, and basically, I mean, they stay in their village house, but her son, he stays in the city of Bangalore, and they have their own business. Her son, and even the daughter is married. She has grandchildren and all, and now that she's working in LIC, but sorry, yeah, but they have already told their children that we would like to spend our life and whatever. I mean, they were hardworking in their young age and all, and now as the children have settled, so they have already told the children that we won't be, we would like to have our own life now in at this age, and I mean, they buy all sorts of whatever the exercisers and whatever is good for their health and all. And this next week, she's deciding to go for a trip with her office friends. So this is the way she's carrying out with her life now. And she says whatever money we have, whatever savings we have, we will be using it for ourselves, and whatever remains when we go, it will be yours. So that's what I just wanted to share. Yeah.
And so what is the response from the children?
They are working, and it's good.
Are they
it's
happy?
good. I think, yeah, they are happy. They are happy.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think some retired parents are continuously putting their life on hold for the sake of their children, and they have to pay attention to themselves. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else? Thank you, Mrs. Thorat, for sharing. Yeah. Any other comment?
I think,
About-
yeah. Anyone? Yeah. No, it is when we talk about these kind of things, it seems very easy, but each and everything requires so much of effort. And I know very well in my own practice as a geriatrician that when you ask the older person, just tell me from morning to night what you do. And what they say is that when we have breakfast and then we go and lie down, and then we get up and have our lunch, and then we go and lie down. And so I said, well, why do you lie down? Are you tired? Are you sick? Because if it is so, then tell me, because I might be able to help you. And they say, no, we're not tired or anything, but there's nothing to do.
Oh.
So then you look at the daughter-in-law who's brought, you see, the son will never bring. You see, it's only the daughter-in-law who brings, and the daughter-in-law who gets all the blame, unfortunately. But the daughter-in-law says, so I say, she would be happy to do something, and there's silence there because there's a little bit of tension going on there. Or maybe I'm just thinking, it takes so long for her to do this, I might as well do it myself. So you see, that is the thing. To put up with an older person's disability, but allow them to do things. And the other question that I use, the other thing I tell older people is have a structure. And the structure does not include going to the bed. There is no structure of going to the bed. So at every point, it may seem like a timetable in a school, but if you keep yourself occupied, now this is the time when I have to, I tell the daughter-in-law, put some plants and tell her she has to water these or she has to do this. Not like a work, but something like an enjoyment. And then this is the time for exercise. Now, we haven't talked about nutrition and exercise, but these are all very important ways to improve health and therefore bring in happiness. But apart from nutrition, exercise is so important. And many people say, exercise. I'm doing exercise. So I said, what is your exercise? Oh, I'm working in the house. So this is the distinction that I want to make is between work and exercise. In exercise, it's a coordinated effort of all the muscles in your body, your lungs, your mind and brain also into exerting physical exertion as well as you're appreciating the things you do. But when you work, it is only some muscles which are working. You may be sitting down and doing something. You are producing something, no doubt. You are active, no doubt, but it's different from exercise. So you have to cut out that 1 hour or 45 minutes in which there's actual exercise, because that does a lot of changes in the brain. If you talk about it, in fact, I wanted to talk about this earlier also, was if you asked a psychiatrist, what is happiness? If he's a very scientific person, he might say, well, it's if you have high levels of serotonin, which is the happy hormone in your brain, you will be very happy. But that doesn't make me happy to know that I have a lot of serotonin. I just want to know, what do I do to have that serotonin? So you see, and if you exercise, there's a lots of, again, the psychiatrist will tell you, endorphins which come out. Endorphins also make you happy, they relieve pain. So there is a scientific basis to all of this. Whether it's a cause of your happiness or the effect of your happiness, we don't really know. But if we can just believe that by doing these things, it adds to our general well-being, it is something that you will put into a schedule. It's very easy to say, oh, I went for a walk yesterday, and so I can skip it today, So if you make it as part of a timetable, you will do it every day. And once you've done it for 10 days, as old people, we are creatures of habit. We find if we don't do something, oh, there's something wrong with me, I must do it. And so even if you need a walking stick, please have a walking stick, but do your walk and choose a nice, safe place to walk. It's very, very important. And those of you who are younger, please insist that your older people go for that walk. And sometimes you might have to help them. You might have to go with them if they've got a tendency to fall or something like that. But even 10 minutes of exercise can do a world of good. You may not see it immediately, but it's there, it's happening.
Right.
It would be nice if somebody could share something which they or their parents are doing so that we can all learn from that.
Anyone? I think what you mentioned about us being creatures of habit is very true. So what are some of the unhealthy habits that can creep in old age that we need to resist? Can sleeping become a habit also?
Yes.
And can excessive television can also become a habit to?
Yes, just being inactive. Being inactive in your mind and your
void. Nobody talks to me. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Somebody wants to say something.
So, I don't know. Anybody saying something? No. Please go ahead.
The other thing is, being, I thought that person was saying was being isolated in a family, sometimes because the older people are much slower and their interests are not the same. Supposing the whole family is doing IPL cricket and the older person not interested in IPL cricket, then, they get left out. So that's only part of it. But the younger people should try to make sure that they ask them, what did you do in the day? And that person will have something to say. Or, even small things. Or if they don't have anything to say, they should be stimulated into giving, what's your opinion about this? So when the younger people really challenge the older person, that can be very nice. You can sit at eating together is very important.
Right.
Very often the older person, because it's going to take longer to eat, has a special diet and all that, they are made to eat off early as a sign of respect as well, But if they eat with you, even if they have a special diet, the conversation that happens at the table is more important than the food that is eaten. And so that's very important.
Correct, yeah. How much sleep does an elderly person require?
An elderly person doesn't need less sleep, needs as much sleep.
Okay.
6 to 7 hours of sleep. It doesn't have to be unbroken sleep, because older people are going to have to go to the toilet twice at least. And 7.5 hours. And it's not just that it is only at night. If they make it up in the morning, it's all right. But what happens is if you sleep during the daytime, then the nighttime sleep is cut out. And that's the time when everyone else is sleeping. So it gives rise to a lot of frustration. So, but there is absolute no as far as sleeping pills are concerned. You cannot and must never advise an older person to take a sleeping pill because it's so addictive. It's so effective, so addictive. All older people love sleeping pills. They'll ask you to stop all the medicines. But when you ask them, what about this one? No, that one you cannot stop because they know how nice it is that the modern sleeping pills give no hangover. They're so effective, but they're so poisonous. And the poison doesn't come in immediately. It comes in 10 years later when the older person is just falling to bits, has lost their brain and everything. So never give sleeping pills to older people except for a very defined problem.
Right.
For short periods of time, maybe 5 days, maximum 1 week. But if you actually see the whole population, maybe 80% of older people, it's just a ballpark figure. All the people whom I used to see, they were all on a sleeping pill. So somebody had started them on it, and then you can never take it off. So
Right.
this is a great ill.
Yeah. Anybody else wants to ask any comment? Yeah. In the West, there are people who have a bucket list which they want to do before they die. I do not know how it is here, whether people are doing it here. But I mean, have you heard of something like that? That some of the people who do it after retirement, they from your friend circle or yourself?
Yes, more and more, because now as a country, we're becoming more progressive and we have more finances. Now, when we were young, I would never think of my parents going on a holiday themselves, because for one thing, people were not so healthy when they were old. Now we are all much more healthy. And because healthcare is much more easily available, it's more advanced. But still, there is a tendency for older people, as you said, not to go out. I'll be spending so much money. Shouldn't I keep it for my children? And that kind of a philanthropic feeling towards our children is still there. But I think that because as Indians, as Easterners, we are used to saving. We were taught all our lives to save, not to spend money, flash money around. So we want to, Indians are known for the toothpaste tube. You squeeze out the last one, you roll it up, and you take out even the last one. You cannot bear to throw away. The soap also, and then when there is a cover, we hoard it. That's all very good because we are not wasteful people. We want to recycle, upcycle. The West is teaching us all this about reuse, recycle, upcycle. We had it a long time ago, the Kabadiwalas. But what happens is we must break out of that and stop the saving mentality because you've done everything, and spend money for yourself, not in a profligate way, but in a sensible and responsible way. I fully agree with you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. I think one thing I would like to credit, I'm not sure about the other communities really, but, and I'm not trying to, maybe other communities do have, but the Catholic community has a lot of social events for the elderly. They have clubs and they have, I think, something like dance proms also. And I've seen their elderly are really enjoying life, to the fullest, because I think the conservatism, the conservativeness of our culture is there probably in all other communities. I'm from the Protestant fold, even we are like that. But Catholic people really have a very vibrant life. And maybe the Parsis also, I'm not sure. So it's something I think as elders of community should think about holding events like that for the elderly.
I think the religious festivals are the ones where people really come out, Diwali and things like that. But even besides that, older people should be seen more on the streets. But then again, having said that, in the West, it's so elder friendly. Everything outdoors is very friendly, from the transport onwards, for your buses, low flow buses. So it's the time is not yet there for us to go around. in a safe way, because elderly
Yeah.
people do need some help. Whereas in the West, the zebra crossings and all those things are so well adhered to, and you can be fined heavily if you don't stop for an older person at the zebra crossing. So that makes it unsafe. But a time has to come. Again, the other thing is those elderly people who are challenged, their musculoskeletal system, they have bad knees, they don't want to walk out. But if they use their walker, they could actually negotiate a public place, but not our pavements as they are today. You will fall down. But people also don't want to use assistive devices because there's a negative and inferiority complex that they feel towards it.
Right, right.
And I always tell everybody that you should be proud that at this age, 80, with such bad knees, with your walker, you can walk. Just show people. They say, no, no, no. They will say, I'm old. So I said, but you are old. There's nothing wrong with being old. So yeah, so that is the kind of confidence which our older people who are disabled in some way also must know, because that disability is going to come. All of us cannot be healthy and smart as we were at the age of 40 or 50. There will be. But how do you, as you were saying, negotiate life? Maybe not as much as you could do when you were younger, but to a great extent, safely. That is something which they need encouragement from the younger people and help.
Yeah. So I think we've been open for comments or questions. Anybody has, please go ahead, or we could just close the meeting now. It's almost 10. Any comment, any personal tip that you do that makes you happy? You could share it for the sake of others also. Yeah, there was a title of a movie called No Country for Old Men. There was a Western movie, and although the movie was about some serial killer, but it really struck me, that title, as that we don't have spaces for elderly, as we are not so friendly.
Yes, I think some very famous actor was in it, isn't it?
Yes.
Walter Matthau. It was a comedy. Yeah.
No, this was, I think, like a dark comedy probably. I'll send you the clipping for that. Yeah. But anyway, how we wish, Dr. Alka, you were living in Navi Mumbai. We would have planned so many things with you for the elderly in the community. And we wish God could replicate more of you.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
to improve our lives and sensitivity for IMP. So thank you so much once again for being a source of blessing for all of us. May God
Thank
bless
you, everyone, for being here and for your invitation. Very, very honored.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Good night. Take care. Bye.